Hello everyone. It's been a hot minute since I made my last video. Took a little break, I'm back, and now I am here to show you the potential greatness of Crystal Oasis. I've surprisingly got a lot of questions in-game on why this map is so high in my benchmark, yet either they never seen me do it, or nobody else does it. And here's why. You need at least 20 people that are active in your squad, and you need to have a knowledgeable commander that knows what the heck they're doing in this map. To go along with those points, the reason why you need at least 20 people is because it is essential to get champions upskilled on every event, or most of the events, to make this work. As for a knowledgeable commander, you just need somebody that knows where to go like right when an event ends, because there are so many things that could be happening in a shorter period of time that you need to be quick on your feet. And then the third requirement is everybody should have at least a raptor, but I mean, we're in Crystal Oasis, so if you don't have a raptor and if you're gonna do this train, then I don't know what you're doing. Now to the good stuff, right? To why we should do this farm. If you watch my previous Desolation video, you'll know exactly what kind of loot we're gonna get here, because it's essentially the same exact thing. So there's these champion bags that drop from the forge bounties, which are called the battered forge components. These guys are super awesome. They give you expensive recipes that could be worth like either worthless or like 5 or more gold, depending on what the market is at the time. That you could get forged weapons, some of them being also like 5 gold and some of them being like 10 gold. And then you get an extra unidentified gear. Because it's a POF bag, it just works a little differently, that you get extra. Other loot you can get unidentified gear just straight out of a mob. You can get an amalgamated gemstone from the Casino Blitz meta, and then possibly, if you're really lucky, you can get a confetti infusion from the Choya Pinata. Okay, so now the events. I'm gonna throw this picture right on the screen, and it looks like a mess. And the only thing you really have to know about this picture right here is that all the green stuff is all the good events and their locations and where they go. All the yellow is just meh, whatever, and then red, just avoid if you see it. On my website, I have all the information of what all these numbers is and all that good stuff, so I'll put a link below if you want to check that out. The events that we're going to focus on are the raiding parties, which is number 6, escort number 10, farm number 9, and crucible number 18, 19. You could even keep track of number 8, which is the Choya Stampede, though there is a very unique situation with that event respawn rate. So, going over each one of these really important events. First one being the raiding party. There are 5 total in this map, each one having an average cooldown of about 6 minutes and 30 seconds. When you get to one with your squad, you kind of want to wait just a second so everybody can catch up, because you want to upskill as much as possible. You want to try and get to these as fast as possible, because once they spawn, they already spawned the first initial wave. So if you get there and the event's already there, you already missed out one of the waves. So every time you get to them, there's only one wave that's going to spawn to summon the champion. Ideally, you would want to get there right before it spawns so you can get 2 potential waves to have champions. But realistically, at least the first part of this train is you're going to have to just find one that's just roaming around first before you can figure out what the respawn time is. So here's an example of us just waiting for it to respawn, hoping to get a champion on the first wave and the second wave. I always tell my guild that the more Choyas you have, the more champions will spawn. This is also where having a commander that knows what they're doing in this map comes in handy, because would you really believe a random pug commander, hey, let's wait here for 30 seconds to a minute to see if this event respawns? You kind of look at him like, I don't know about that, right? Anyways, on to the next event. There is this escort that spawns a little more east from where this video is being captured. On my website, on my timer page, I call this the South Refugee event. It's the same thing. It has a very low cooldown. It's only 7 minutes and 30 seconds. It's a very nice escort because it spawns multiple waves of forged enemies in a short period of time. And in some cases, we got up to 4 or 5 champions in one run. One thing that is important to note about this event though is that if you look in the minimap, it has a very small range of how big this event is. So you want to have your party pretty compact in between each wave, just so you can kind of secure that chance of getting those champions. The next event that we focus on this train is this farm event. It is super simple. There are 2 waves that happen simultaneously. They both occur on the north and south part of the east side. There is one more event in Crystal Oasis that I said that we were going to focus on. It was called the Crucible event, though unfortunately I do not have footage of that event. So right now what you see is a totally different meta and map and everything, but it's very similar in the sense that there are 4 of these like priests that you have to CC in order to do damage. Exact same thing, it's just much smaller scale. And while all of this is going, sometimes a champion spawns from the side and then eventually comes to the middle. After that, there is a guaranteed champion that happens right at the end. Though I should say that because this event is very out of the way compared to where the rest of the other good events are in Crystal Oasis, I don't recommend overextending just so you can get this event. It's just if you so happen to be in the area and this event is up, I think it's worth doing then. The times that you would be somewhat near the area is if you picked up these 2 specific bounties. There are 2 bounties that I pick up in order to fill in any gaps for events that are still on cooldown. The 2 bounties are this Punisher and the Sorcerer, both being forged of course. Both these bounties can be picked up from the Temple of Cormyr, which is the middle waypoint of the map. And these bounties are relatively easy, especially if you got a group that you know has pretty decent DPS, or if you have just really good DPS. Just at least somebody has great DPS, these bosses will be just fine. The only bad thing about one of these bounties, the Punisher, which is the one that's on the screen right now, this one of the possible locations is to the far east of the map, way out of the way, to the point where it's just not even worth it. So if that happens, just ditch that bounty and just go for the Sorcerer. The Sorcerer is always going to be near all the other events that you would have done. Just to recap everything, now that we have gone over all the really good events, you're basically going to be doing some kind of rotation within this area of the map. Whether you started from the north end and then started off the south end, or if you did it vice versa, it doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is you pick some kind of event to start with, either with like the raiding parties or something. Figure out what the respawn timer of that is once you finish it, and then work your way to the other events. Find out what those respawn timer is, and then you'll see that there's a kind of a clear rotation of what your train is going to be. Now of course, I highly recommend anybody who does this train and wants to command it, totally check out my tool on timers and check the Crystal Oasis tab, and you'll find all the respawn timers of all the events. If you've never used this tool before, I have made a video on how to use it. I'll put the link on top of this video so you can check that out. Now last but not least, the meta. There isn't too much to say about the meta. It's super simple. There's 3 events. You have to get 250 coins each. They're all over the city and they're super easy to get. The meta is usually populated with or without your squad. So during the first round, I like to pick up Zelk the Shameless. This bounty is always around the city or in the city, and he's very easy to complete. There's always somebody that kind of needs him for an achievement, and it just makes things a little bit more spicy, right? Because it's not that much fun for 5 minutes running around gathering coins. Once we kill the bounty, we go back to the city, gather a few more coins, and there's always caches laying around the roofs or orichalcum somewhere. By the time the second or third round starts, I like to do the legendary Choya bounty, just because it's a legendary bounty and it's always within the city. Again, just to keep things a little spicy, and come on, it's a Choya. Speaking of Choyas, I like to end the train with the grand finale of the Choya Piñata. Remember, this guy is where you get the Choya confetti infusion, so make sure you do it on the daily and maybe you'll get it one day. Now for the results. At this time of this video, the gold per hour is about 23 gold. I usually last the run that's about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. I always try to include the meta at the end or the beginning if it just so happens like that. So I got about 5 trials or 5 days worth of Crystal Oasis runs. For currencies, I got mostly trade contracts. That's pretty obvious. I got about 280. You're not going to get a lot anyway because trade contracts are not that easy to come by. In terms of crafting materials, it's kind of all over the place. You get a little bit of everything. Unidentified gear, it's a pretty good amount surprisingly, and they're mostly from raw drops and not from champion bags. And in terms of champion bags, I did get an average of about 27 of the battered forge components and a lot of different types of trade caches. If you want to check out this spreadsheet, I'll put a link in the description. There is one more point that I do want to end this video with, is that the reason why I don't do this farm so often is because even if you get those recipes from the battered forge components, it's not like you can sell them really fast because there's not a huge demand for it, even though it is really expensive. So you're gonna have to take your time when you're selling that or trading with people, because it's gonna be a minute until you can get your money's worth. Anyways, this farm is super fun, it's super unique. If you have some friends or a guild that you know that you can get some people to do this, you guys will have a great time trying to gamble how many champions you can get in one event. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. Do all those YouTube things, you know, check out my channel, blah 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 blah. Check out my website for cool stuff, and I'll see you later.